make sure to like the video and drop your thoughts in the comments. I never thought it would happen to me. At 57, I considered myself a strong, independent woman. I'd raised 2 children, built a career, and weathered the storms of life with my head held high. But nothing could have prepared me for the violation I experienced that night. It happened at a family gathering. My son, David, had invited me to his home for a dinner party to celebrate his promotion. I was proud of him, of course, and eager to spend time with my grandchildren. The house was filled with laughter, the smell of good food, and the warmth of family. But there was one person there who made me uneasy, David's father-in-law, Carl. Carl had always been a bit too friendly, his compliments a little too pointed, his touches a little too lingering. I'd brushed it off in the past, chalking it up to his personality. But that night, something felt different. The evening started off well enough. I helped David's wife, Sarah, in the kitchen, catching up on family news and doting on my grandchildren. Carl was there too, sipping whiskey and holding court in the living room. Every now and then, I'd catch him looking at me, his gaze intense and unsettling. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the joy of being with my family. But as the night wore on, Carl's behavior became harder to dismiss. It happened when I stepped outside for some fresh air. The backyard was quiet, lit by the soft glow of string lights. I stood by the garden, taking deep breaths and enjoying the cool night air. That's when Carl appeared. "Margaret," he said, his voice smooth and confident. "I was hoping I'd find you out here." I forced a smile, my guard immediately going up. "Just getting some air, Carl. It's a bit crowded inside." He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine. "You're always so composed, Margaret. So elegant. I've always admired that about you." I took a step back, my heart beginning to race. "That's kind of you to say, but I should probably get back inside." But Carl didn't seem to hear me. He closed the distance between us, his hand reaching out to brush against my arm. "You don't have to be so guarded," he said, his voice low. "We're both adults. There's no harm in a little connection." I felt a surge of panic. "Carl, this isn't appropriate. I'm going back inside." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, his grip firm. "Don't be like that," he said, his tone almost playful. "We're family, aren't we?" Before I could react, he pushed me against the wall, his body pressing into mine. I froze, my mind racing as I tried to process what was happening. And then, to my horror, he slid his hand under my dress. I gasped, my body going rigid as his fingers invaded me. It was quick, just a moment, but it felt like an eternity. I wanted to scream, to fight him off, but I was paralyzed by shock and fear. When he finally pulled away, he smirked, as if he'd just won some kind of game. "See," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" I stared at him, my chest heaving, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, disgust, and shame all warred within me, but one thought rose above the rest: this cannot stand. I don't remember how I got back inside. One moment I was standing in the backyard, trembling with rage, and the next I was in the living room, searching for David. When I found him, I pulled him aside, my voice shaking as I told him what had happened. His face went pale, then red with anger. "That son of a," he started, but I cut him off. "Not here," I said, my voice firm despite the tears in my eyes. "We need to handle this carefully." David nodded, his jaw clenched. "You were right. But I swear to you, Mom, he's going to pay for this." The next few days were a blur. David and I confronted Carl, demanding an explanation and an apology. At first, he tried to deny it, his tone dismissive and condescending. "You're overreacting, Margaret," he said, his voice dripping with false concern. "It was just a misunderstanding." But I wasn't having it. "There's no misunderstanding what you did, Carl. And I won't let you sweep it under the rug." David stood by my side, his support unwavering. Together, we made it clear that Carl's behavior was unacceptable and that there would be consequences. In the weeks that followed, I struggled to come to terms with what had happened. The violation, the anger, the shame, it all weighed heavily on me. But with David's support, I began to heal. I started seeing a therapist, someone who helped me process my emotions and reclaim my sense of self-worth. I also reached out to a support group for survivors of sexual assault, finding solace in the stories of others who had faced similar struggles. Slowly but surely, I began to feel like myself again. I wasn't the same woman I'd been before. I was stronger, more resilient, and more determined than ever to stand up for myself and others.